and welcome to We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host for this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, or whenever you happen to listen, because after all, it's your podcast. This is a quick start on the Kickstart episode, and what we do in a quick start on the Kickstart episode is there will be somebody who is currently running a Kickstarter campaign, who has caught our eye, or who's got in contact and asked to have a little chat. So, joining me today from One Day West Games, there is a Bob. Say hi, Bob.
Hello, Richard. How you doing?
I'm very good. And there's also a Ryan.
There is a Ryan. Hi, Richard. Ryan checking in.
Do you remember the whole tagging in, tagging out thing? They're
yes.
Exactly. They're here to talk about Monster Highway, which is their campaign, which is currently on Kickstarter. And we're going to have a little bit of chat, find out a little bit about themselves, and then we're also going to find out a little bit about their game as well, which is, one of the reasons that they're here. Now, the reason that we do this, for people that haven't listened before, the reason that we do this is quite simply not enough podcasts out there about board games. Just, you can check Google. I've gone as far as checking Yahoo. Nothing at all. And the second reason that we do this is because I like speaking to people, and I saw these guys' video for the Kickstarter, one of the promotional videos, and when I saw that, I was like, I have to speak to these people. So, first of all, gentlemen, thank you for coming on. It's good to have you and speak to you. I know obviously you're it's very, very early because you're in America, so it's probably about 3:00 in the mornings or something ridiculous like that. It's kind of like one of those live satellite links where I'll say, so how you doing? And then there'll be like the 3-hour gap, and then you say, oh, we're fine, thanks. But we want to find out a little bit about your history. So we want to have a little, I guess, kind of stare back at the power plant of the past. Have a look at the radioactive liquid of the present before we step off into the monstrosity of the future. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your history with the hobby? You can obviously talk at the same time, but this is a podcast, so it'll make it difficult for people to understand. You could, but I'm taking it that I'm guessing that you're related in some way because you've both got the same second name or
last name.
Yeah. Or is it?
Yeah. So actually, we're brothers.
Okay.
We're 18 months apart, so we're pretty close. We work together, and we're actually landscapers.
Oh, right.
Actually,
Okay.
Probably not even related to board games. So
But
we grew up with board games. That's kind of been like our hobby growing up. We always enjoyed playing like all the cool old retro ones that are now magically worth a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
So, like your Fireball Island, your Tornado Rex, Key to the Kingdom, like all the goodies.
you had Key to the Kingdom with a big guy in the blue.
I still do.
You still got it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Fireball Island. Yeah, all the good stuff.
Is that not the guy that's got like running towards you with like some kind of ridiculous, is it blue armor or something like that on the actual box? It's a huge guy.
Yes.
Are you actually reaching over and getting the box?
I know. Actually, yeah. Like
I'm trying to remember. We just grab the box and open it.
I mean, okay.
How'd
How'd you manage to hang on to these things then? I mean, have you just kind of made sure you kept them kind of pristine? Because if there's something that never seems to work, it's usually board games and children of a reasonably young age, and it's definitely not board games and siblings together, because usually somebody kind of ends up breaking something. So were you guys kind of quite protective when you're growing up of the old kind of board games that you had?
Oh yeah, I mean, pretty much all of our toys are still intact. We're those kids that we would play with them. I mean, there's some stuff that we never opened. I feel like we collected everything. Like we loved collecting baseball cards, and we would have baseball card shows in our bedroom. But like everything was in the hard plastic cases, and we made sure never to like wrinkle the boxes.
We were just weird, overly protective kids, I guess. I don't know. Somehow it didn't fit the mold of your normal destructive, 5-year-old or 6-year-old just tearing in this stuff.
I know. Are you like one of these guys that you see the guys that are collecting like all of the Star Wars toys, and they've got all of the Star Wars toys, and they've got stuff in their backings and stuff like that, and it's like, oh no, I never played with these, and it's like, why not? It's Star Wars. What are you doing? I mean, what was there favourite games that you kind of played all the time? Is there ones that you've got lots of really lovely memories that you just spent the day when it was horrible outside, and you just sat back and spent like days kind of playing the games and stopping for lunch and stuff like that?
I guess the one, because it was really just Bob and I growing up. We didn't have a lot of kids in our neighborhood, so it was just him and I. So we would go to like the game like Risk, like just the big ones.
Games, a lot of 2-player stuff, or we kind of like all over the board too. Because I mean, we would play like Stratego, Aggravation, like some of the more mainstream stuff too. But we were just looking back at some of our older stuff too, like Daytona 500. There were a couple like racing games, and we really didn't have like one particular, I guess, niche the type of game that we went towards. It just
we'd start at the top and just work our way down. Be like, oh, we have all day, so let's just
is that what you do?
Play through them all. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Open our closet door up and we just start at the very top and be like, all right, we're gonna start with Risk and work our way down through past the trash to
Shark Attack.
Oh wow! Did you have like Escape from Atlantis and Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs and games like that as well, or was it like your Key to the Kingdom?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So, Lost Valley of the Dinosaur, we didn't have that. Bob actually just recently got that for my birthday for me. We just added that to the collection.
It's actually it's actually a collection, isn't it? It's like it's a curated museum for board games.
It's actually, we prefer a clean room. You have to actually like suit up and go through a whole decontamination process before you actually enter the room.
So those yellow hazmat suits that you were wearing in the video, those are yours. Yeah, those are.
That's our normal attire whenever we play.
That's our Lost Valley of the Dinosaur attire. Yeah, you don't. No fingerprints.
Yeah, everyone gets scanned before they go in. And there is a passcode.
Be like, you're going to play a game from Waddington's. Put these gloves on.
Yeah,
that must make it quite difficult for any kind of romantic interest. It's like, would you wear this for me? Anything at all? Yeah, go and put the yellow hazmat suit if you're going near the cardboard. By the way, thanks very much.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. The dinosaurs in Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs, do they still look like really bad? Look like they've put really bad lipstick on?
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
definitely. They were definitely going on a night on the town or something like that.
Yeah, the club of dinosaurs. Yeah.
It's like they've not got long enough arms to reach their own faces. So what they've had to do is they've had to put each other's lipstick on, which is why it's such a mess. Which is what I always thought. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I think it was about the time Waddington's decided to take kind of your normal board games like your Key to the Kingdom. I don't know who they brought in as kind of like designers, but there seemed to be like there was Hotel that came out, and then there was, like you said, there was like Key to the Kingdom. There was the Pac-Man game that was like a fully 3D. Have you got the Pac-Man game?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I got it. Although that was a recent purchase, so it's like
right.
It's like, oh, now they're older, we have money.
No, of course.
Let's buy all the games that
Have you got?
We couldn't have before.
Have you got Thunder Road?
Thunder
Road. Of course,
I have two copies.
Of course, you've got 2 copies of Thunder Road.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got
just,
2 copies.
Just in case someone gets a little overzealous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because you got to watch for the helicopters, because they can be quite kind of delicate as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Have you ever spoken to the creator of Thunder Road?
No,
I have. Okay, so that's one up for me. Thank you.
There you go. All right. Check.
Eventually I'm winning. But they went...
You have a bell you could ring or anything?
No, I've got a glass here. Look. There we go.
There we go. That works.
I'd like to propose a toast.
We're dealing with cans.
Doesn't have the same effect.
Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right.
Sure. It actually is.
It's 5 o'clock in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
That's why
As we're speaking.
That's
literally where we are.
That's why I said, it's all this whole show is intricately put together. Everything from the organisation of the chat, which was a mishmash of emails and private Twitter conversations, through to the joke.
That's all good.
through to the joke to make sure I was like, if I'm going to get these guys on, they're in Pennsylvania, right? If they're in Pennsylvania, they're going to have something to drink. I better make sure I talk to them round about the 5 o'clock time in Pennsylvania time, which means I can make the it's 5 o'clock somewhere joke and everybody will like it. No, that would be fantastic if it was actually funny, but it's not. But it's okay. I mean, we will obviously talk about your game, but one of the things that I just find this fascinating. I'm just like, you are basically. It's like I'm talking back through the years into my childhood. But Waddington's, I say, Waddington's went ahead and they got all these games like Thunder, as you say, Thunder Road, which is just fantastic. Is there any games that are kind of like the holy grail that you would like to get your hands on, which you still haven't managed to get a kind of a hold of one, like a copy of?
You know what? It seems like the one that I actually never played it, but it looks cool. Dark Tower.
Oh,
I feel like that's like one. It's like a great collector item. Again, I never played it, but I see it at all the shows that we go to.
Yeah, I think James Hudson from Druid City Games kind of gave away a copy, I think, of the Dark Tower last year at some point, and I think people were basically saying, he says, all you need to do is you just need to do this, put your name down, fill in this form, do this, and folk were shouting at him, I will give you my firstborn child if you give me a copy of this game. So I think the guy that won it was just absolutely hysterical, kind of when he won the game. So have you kept your collection kind of going then? I mean, do you have different rooms now? Do you have the 80s room, the 90s room? The kind of like, did you continue with a hobby or did you drop out and go back into it again?
I think we've kind of continued on it. I mean, now that I think we're into the gaming industry, it's kind of ramped up exponentially. It was kind of like a trickle here or there, and now like every birthday and every Christmas, it usually involves just exchanging games back and forth between each other.
Okay.
So,
yep.
Okay.
So eventually we're going to have to either move or just have a shed out back just for everything because our basements and closets are kind of filling up quickly.
A climate-controlled shed.
Yeah, definitely a climate-controlled shed. Yeah.
I think you should potentially consider something that's maybe sunk maybe 5 or 6 feet into the ground as well. If it's dry enough, obviously, if you're not in a floodplain, so you could... there's no point in having a big shed if you can't have a big, long shed that you go down into. And you,
like a doomsday prepping shed or something like that?
I think if it's going to happen, then you have to decide. You could put in there the cardboard that you couldn't possibly live without, or the cardboard that you would need to decide to keep, I guess. If you look at... So
do you have to decide between like sacrificing between like extra soup or Key to the Kingdom or something like that as far as space goes?
I'll leave
because there are some big boxes.
I'll leave that entirely up to you if you decide. Remember that while cannibalism isn't acceptable just now, when the apocalypse comes, I think the rules on that will be a bit more lax. I'm just I'm just kind of dropping that. I'm just kind of dropping that in there. But is there anything you guys are kind of like playing at the moment? I mean, is it like local games clubs that you get to go to, or game stores, or is it usually just the...
Sure, yeah. Actually, there's one we were just at last Friday for their game night. They're really cool. They have a lot of the the newer games that we're into, and they carry everything. It's like all the stuff fresh off Kickstarter. He usually gets his hands on pretty quickly.
All right, okay.
Which is pretty cool. So we like, supporting, the local business, trying to buy our games there instead of just going on Amazon and order whatever you want.
Yeah.
So we try and support local businesses. And, I mean, a couple of newer ones. I mean, I really like Downforce, Sagrada, like kind of, again, all over the place. You like the technical games, but then also like, we have a lot of friends that are lighter gamers. So we try to, cater to them too. So
Yeah, so to keep everyone happy, because like really we're not into like the super heavy games. We like the light to, I guess, medium, you can say.
Yeah.
But which is pretty much kind of how we modeled creating Monster Highway, trying to take everything we like about games, but not make it too heavy, but not make it too light that it's not interesting for advanced gamers too.
Yeah. I mean, when you were growing up together, were you, when you were taking games off the shelf, were you also kind of maybe modifying them or making changes to them, or did you start kind of, when you were amassing such a reasonably sized collection, were you thinking, well, actually, let's, did you come up with some kind of ideas of yourselves? Then?
No, I wouldn't say we altered anything like younger. That didn't really start pretty much until 2 years ago. It was actually when we had the first thoughts of creating our own board game.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I'm sorry, again.
No, I was going to say, I mean, that's fairly kind of a recent thing. I mean, was that born out of anything in particular, or was that just a case of you sat down one night and said, like, okay, let's do something ourselves then?
Yeah, well, I guess you can go all the way back to our career. Like Bob said earlier, we're landscapers for our profession. We're in a family business. It's my dad's company. He started it 40 years ago, and then Bob and I came on full time with him 10 years ago. So, being self-employed, we're always trying to be creative. About getting jobs, but even in the landscaping industry, it's about design and install. So that's kind of been in our blood for forever. Just trying to be creative, and that kind of went right into the our love for board games. We're like, well, we design every day of our lives landscaping. So it was kind of a natural progression to go right into the designing our hobby.
Did you find that ever the board gaming kind of leaked into the landscape design, that somebody would end up with like a couple of meeples on their front lawn, or a D20 where the fountain should have been, or something like that?
You should see Bob and I with hedge trimmers. Oh my god!
I bet it's a sight to see.
We could sculpt some shrubs. Yeah.
So you want about 66s over here.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful D20 over there. Love shade.
Could you imagine if you were given an unlimited budget and just the kind of the right piece of land that you could do anything with? You could actually make a real kind of interactive kind of board game that you were the actual meeples and stuff like that. How cool!
That'd be fantastic.
How cool would that be? What game would you make, though? What kind of game would you make? Would it be area control or something?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'm trying to.
If we had to physically make a game, with our landscape,
yeah,
and real life monsters and dragons,
or you could have any
at our disposal.
You could have anything. You could have any. You could basically have anything you want. Obviously, within reason. I mean, I know that dragons are quite difficult to come in Scotland. I don't know how difficult they are in Pennsylvania. I'm assuming that.
I don't know if UPS would deliver a dragon over here or anything like that.
I heard
or FedEx. Yeah.
I heard DHL does good rates though. So
do they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the link. They've got a section on their a section on their website. They do unicorns as well, but you can never get them, and they always prod holes in the boxes.
Yeah.
But
weather damage, and there's claim and insurances. It's
bubble wrap never lasts.
Well, no, because they get really precise with that. Because you could just tell it's a unicorn in the box, because all you hear is the pop, 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 pop. Because they're great big horses, but you give unicorn bubble wrap, and you can keep it amused for hours. Especially if they just pin it to the wall, because all you hear is pop, pop. Pop. You just got to make sure if it's over an 8-hour flight or something like that, they've got an extra roll of bubble wrap so they can replace it kind of like halfway through. Because I mean, the last thing you want is a slightly stressed unicorn that hasn't had enough bubble wrap to pop.
And then what do you feed a unicorn then? That's the other question. I never really know, because hay doesn't seem to work. Our last one didn't work out that well.
I think they just I don't think they need to eat. I think because they're a magical being, they just ingest hope and joy through the pores in their skin.
Okay. I thought like Lucky Charms at all, because they're magically delicious, so I figured that might work. That wasn't one of the marshmallows?
I probably just eat hay. You know, I mean, it is a horse. It's probably not.
True.
It's probably
right.
not magical. You know, it's like you don't have to eat magical.
That's where we
stuff.
went wrong with the last one.
Is that why the last one died? A kind of
Yeah.
chronic kidney infection because you were feeding it chocolate all the time.
Yeah,
well, that'll be that.
I guess that with the diabetic shock it went into. That makes sense.
All the preservatives,
Just kind of
definitely.
yeah.
So you're sitting here 2 years ago and you go, okay, because I'm bringing this back in. I didn't realise I have to tell you because this
Let's
is.
cycle back.
I mean, I feel like in such a tangent city, it's almost like I'm doing mathematics or something. But you sit down, you're saying, okay, let's put a game together. What was your first?
Yes.
I mean, how many designs did you go through? How many kind of, you know, was there like a kind of a whiteboard and there was crumpled bits of paper, or did Monster kind of Highway? Was that relatively easy to come together, or was it several designs that you went through before you even had something you thought was a game you could put out there?
Actually, this is random too, but I actually had a dream about the game, and we were placing road tiles down on a board, and you were moving our little cars along the road. So it was like one of those aha moments. You wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and go, "Oh, that sounds like something pretty cool," and you write it down. You hear it like all the time, but musicians do it. And work the next day, I ran it by Ryan, and I was like, "Hey, I got this idea," and he's like, "Oh, it's great." And we're like, "Well, it needs something else to it." And then Ryan suggested, well, if there was a monster moving around, maybe crushing the roads, maybe that might be something. So it was kind of really the start of it, and then we just kind of went to work off of that idea.
I had a vision of you waking up in the middle of the night and kind of sitting straight up like in your pajamas, and then just leaning over and tapping your brother.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I keep my iPhone at the end of my bed as my alarm. I was just like nighttime pecking on my iPhone there, and
And it kind of...
It's the weirdest thing. Okay. Wife leans over like, "What are you doing?"
Designing a board game.
I'm designing a board game. Back to bed.
You reach up on the wall, grab a marker pen, and start sketching away. And it's like, "What are you doing? You're writing on Thunder Road." That's fine. This is important.
No.
This is going to make...
That's why I got 2 copies.
Yeah.
This is going to make Thunder Road look like Ludo. Just hang back. But I mean, was it a kind of a fully ready to go kind of design? I mean, how did you go through how did you go from nowhere into kind of like playtesting? Did you instantly kind of see eye to eye over the design, or did you have kind of did you have differences of opinion on how it should work and things like that?
No, it was very easy. I mean, again, being brothers, we were best friends growing up. Still are. It just makes it so easy. We work together. It's a whole different thing. But we play music together, write music together.
Oh, okay.
We've done that for years. So it's like our whole history is just working together basically as one, and it just made it super easy because I love this idea, and we were on board, and we just kept going back and forth with different mechanics. And I mean the base idea of placing the tiles, the monster moving around, that was right off the bat. That came pretty quickly.
Day one, pretty much. That's what we were going along with. Then obviously just add in some components to make the game a little bit more strategic. Yeah, and add a little bit more competitiveness to it. Mm-hmm. That came along with like playtesting it. So we put together. Actually, I kind of just posted something on Twitter today of just showing like an old throwback to like what our old prototype actually looked like. Just poster board. There are little tiles we made up, printed stickers out for them. Actually used old micro machines, if you're familiar with them.
Oh, am I?
Back
yeah,
in the day.
Of course I am.
Yeah, we pulled them out of the clean room and used them on the boards for a little bit. Yeah,
sacrificed them. It's for the greater good. It's for the greater good.
Yeah, it's the first time they saw.
They were in plastic bags the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
well, if they're not getting played, you might as well use them for something useful. And if it's for kind of like game design, then that's kind of like even better, isn't it? I mean, let's be brutally honest.
Yeah.
The
monster side of things, I mean, was that in there as well from the very, very beginning, or did you kind of bring that in too?
Yeah, the monster was right from the beginning. Yeah, because like the original idea was a tile laying game with some kind of chaos, something happening, and that's why we just came up with the monster. And then we're like, well, what if there was a meltdown at a power plant and you're trying to flee? I mean, that was like pretty much from the beginning, which made it easy because then it was just come up with the different mechanics and concepts throughout the game that, like Bob said, added the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great, having the background of games, that everything was just like, all the games we love, it was pandemonium. There's always like you're fleeing from something. You're trying to escape from this, Tornado Rex. You got to get to the top and avoid Tornado Rex. So it's kind of like we were basically, taking what we loved about the games when we were little and applying it to our modern game. So our history in gaming definitely made it really easy to come up with that.
Okay.
With that idea.
Let's actually talk mechanics, because I know that we're talking about everything. But dinosaurs with lipstick and how you feed a unicorn. I didn't even think of.
Yeah.
I didn't think we would get that far in the show notes, to be honest. But I mean, how does it play? How do you play it? What would be involved in a round? I mean, how many players is it for? I mean, is it optimized for a certain number of players, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's made for 2 to 4 players. We typically play it with 3 or 4 because it's really fun when you have everybody going after each other. Because so I guess starting from the top, it's a 2 to 4 player game.
Mm-hmm.
On your turn, you roll 2 specialty die, and each side it's a road, a car, or a monster. So there's 2 on each die. If you roll a road, you can place one of your 6 road tiles that are in your hand.
Uh-huh.
If you roll a car, there's a separate D6 dice that you would roll, and that will indicate how many road tiles you can move on that's built. And if you roll a monster, you draw a monster card that has a coordinate. So
right, okay.
The monster, so it would be like monster moves to D3, so it lands there. If the monster lands on your car, the car goes back to the middle of the board where all the cars start with in the beginning of the game. If he lands on the last tile that's built, he'll destroy that tile. But if he lands in the middle of your roadway, he's more or less he's a roadblock. Your car can't drive through him.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I mean, was it again? I mean, when you're going through that, is it difficult to get the kind of the balance? Because I think obviously one of the things that people go on is dice. That means there's a random element. Is that why you kind of introduced the kind of the extra things away? So if you roll, the monster card, then you're going to pick a card. So that's, there's certain kind of outcomes. So it's not a case that you're always... One of the complaints you always get about dice games is you roll a 1 and that's you failed. Whereas obviously if you roll a monster, it could be kind of like different kind of outcomes kind of coming through, yeah?
Yes, and then one of the other things too, because there's that random element to it, and you can't get away from that. But even like drawing the monster card, that's on one monster. But if you actually roll monster and monster, so you get 2 monsters up, you could actually put the monster wherever you want on the board too. So you have a little bit more control of actually where it's going instead of the randomized draw of the actual monster card itself. And there's actually also a couple wild cards in there too in the monster deck. So when you draw that kind of gives you the ability to move the monster around as well. So there's a lot more like strategy type things. And then if you do get a road, not only could you place a road, but there's some specialty tiles in there too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a swap, there's a radioactive road tile, and then that gives you ability to move road tiles around, and that could either for defensive purposes or offensive purposes. And say somebody's car is on their road, you could swap it with another player's, and you can move them halfway across the board. So they could think they're maybe one space away from winning, and next thing you know, they're halfway across the board. So kind of little elements like that, to throw a little strategy into it. So it's pretty cool. And
is it important to kind of, have you done a lot of playtesting on this to kind of keep the balance up and make sure everybody has a kind of like a fair chance of winning as well?
Yeah, we did a ton of playtesting. Basically 2017, we took the whole year, and then any big convention that came up around us that we could get to, we were there and played a lot of games, and it was great. People had some, suggestions, but overall, like everyone loved the concept the way that it was. So that was kind of validating to pursue this whole project after seeing everyone's reactions to it. I think people love that strategy and chance mixed within a game, and a game being that's not too heavy. Like I said before, it people who are heavier gamers, they like the game, because the strategy that's in it, and then they can see that and sense it, and it's also a game that might draw in people that really don't play board games, because it's not hard to learn. I mean, but it's after a couple plays you figure out the strategy that's kind of within the game. So it keeps everybody happy. But yeah, we had a ton of playtesting sessions. And
is that kind of thing kind of like, is it difficult to organise? And also, as being kind of like first time kind of creators, did you have people that kind of came up with ideas and you went, oh, actually, these guys are right. This could make, kind of like a decent change to the game.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. People had great suggestions, and we made sure we wrote everything down and thanked everyone for those suggestions. And we would come home or back to the hotel if it was a whole weekend thing, and we would talk about what everyone said, and take it seriously. I mean, there were some changes that we made that were, stemmed off of some of, like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was a way, to
re-roll the dice.
Yeah, re-roll the dice. So that kind of stemmed the whole re-roll tile.
Yeah.
So originally it was you play the re-roll tile, you can roll 1 or 2. And that was really cool. That was based off of someone's suggestion, and we kind of tweaked a couple things and came up with that. And then we did another playtesting session where it turned into, well, you can play the reroll on somebody and force them to reroll their dice instead of just using it on yourself, and you can play it out of turn. So it was like kind of getting these suggestions, and then Bob and I would go back and be like, oh, what if this, or what if that? And then, so it's like some kind of planted a little nugget in our head, and then we kind of tweaked it and playtested that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think whenever you've got like when you've got a game that's got random elements in it, if you've got a way to sometimes mitigate those random elements so that you can continue your own kind of strategy, then I think that's kind of really really important. I mean, I know that games like, say, I don't know if you guys have seen or played Dice Forge, which I
haven't had a chance. No.
You change, like, you basically you'll be able to change the faces of the dice, and then you roll your dice and you get the resources. But then you've got kind of like additional skills that you can actually bring in to your turn as well. That if you've had like a bad dice roll, you can still kind of make some, you can kind of still make some kind of progress kind of going forward. Was it things like that you kind of considered when you were designing things as well?
Yeah, we played around with the balance of, if you have too many roads, like, because people were saying, well, is it even split between 2 roads, 2 monsters, 2 cars, like on each one of the die?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we've always played with it. Tried a few times, like if you had more roads than monster and car, that was kind of throwing things off, because like you'd be able to build your roadway out to your home base really quickly, but then you struggled to, if you needed that car roll so you can actually start moving your car along, then the car kind of took a back seat, or the monster wasn't as part of the game as we really wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like playing around with that balance between, you can't sacrifice one of each one of those movements,
Yeah, because different points of the game, each die result is very important. In the beginning, you want to roll road, so you're hoping for that road, so you can put down two roads, but towards the end, you want car, and you can, if you roll 2 cars. I'm not sure if we mentioned that already. You can move your car as far as long as you want. You don't have to roll that D6 die. If you roll car, as long as the road's complete, you can move all the way to your home base, and that's how you can win. You can be clear across the board, and as long as the monster's not in the way, and your home base tile is laid down, you roll car, you win the game. So towards the end of the game, you want the car roll. So throughout the game, it changes what kind of die result that you want, and that actually added to why we put the reroll in there as well.
Yeah. And I suppose if you've got the cards kind of on top of that, then it leads to sometimes the randomness is a good thing, because you want that randomness. And I guess there'll be points in the game where you're like, if this guy rolls a double road, then he's home free. What can I do to kind of stop him from getting to his kind of home base, which is kind of cool.
He rolls that car, and you chuck that re-roll card down on him, and then you're like, oh man, and then they got to re-roll it, and he gets double road, and then there you go, just save the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
How long does it take to play? Normally, is it like a half hour? Is it
Yeah,
it's a half hour.
Half hour.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the last changes that we made. We used to play the game on a 6-fold board. The game was a little bit bigger, and it was always like 45 minutes to a half hour, or 45 minutes to an hour, excuse me. And which was fine. Everyone was content with that level of gameplay. And then one convention we were at, and we got in a conversation with the gentleman, and he was talking about. Have you ever considered, accelerating the game? Because he was fine with the overall length, but he had said, if you played shorter, then you could get multiple games in the same amount of time that you could play one game.
Yeah.
And so we experimented with that, and we bumped it down to a 4-fold board. And that's actually like the current game that's out right now is the 4-fold board. We liked it a lot better. If you play through, you can get through in 20 minutes, but most of the time it's a half hour, depending on who you're playing with. If you start messing around with other people, it could extend it a little bit further. But
no, I mean, I
totally. That was one thing. It's that balance. Yeah. Do you want to have like a long game, or do you want to get a couple games in? If someone wins, you're like, let's play again, and there goes 2 hours, or you're only dumping an hour into 2 games or something like that. So
I totally agree with you. I mean, it's like games that you can get through in like say half an hour or even 40 minutes. It's quite if I go to the games club, then we've usually got about 2.5-3 hours to play a game. So if we're playing a game that's into like an hour, once you've set up and mucked around with it, then you play your main game, and then you're usually on to maybe a smaller, lighter game, or maybe a couple of times of a filler game. If you've got a game that you can get set up and ready to play, and you can be played it in about half an hour again, it's easy for you to just, now that we know the rules, now that we're doing what we're doing, now that we know the strategy, it's kind of easy to just keep it going, just play another game and kind of keep it at the table. And I think that's it's a good idea as well, because let's face it, normally when people are bringing games to a club to play, it's usually because they've been, in some times it's usually because they've been sitting on their shelves for a long time and they haven't managed to play them as well. So there's kind of like that kind of there's that kind of decision as well. So if you're making your game kind of like, well, we'll play this because it's easy to set up, we know we're going to get through it, we're going to get at least through one game. If you're bringing one of the bigger, the more bigger, heavier hitters to the table, and people are like, well, I'm going to be lucky if I'm going to be able to play this once. So I think shorter games are becoming a lot more attractive for more people, because they don't have the time to invest an hour and a half or even an hour sometimes in a game. And I guess with the kind of the age range that you're looking at as well, I can easily get I can see playing this with my 5-year-old, to be perfectly honest, guys, because it doesn't seem. I mean, I know you've got like an age rating on there, and I don't know if that's because the monster goes around eating people, but no. On the same fine, I can see, if it's an hour long, the difference for me between playing a game that's 45 minutes to me playing an hour with the kids is the difference between them really enjoying the game, or saying they'll actually be very quick and they're honest. I mean, you could sit around the table with a group of adults and you're getting into the hour-long period of the game. Nobody's going to sit around and nobody's going to look at you in the face and say, let's just finish this up because I'm a bit bored. You get into a room with like a 6-7-year-old kid, they're quite happy to tell you, 40 minutes in, I've had enough. I'm off.
Pretty much. Yeah, they're just saying uncle.
Yep. I'm away. I'm going on my tablet. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching Mario Odyssey playthroughs on YouTube, kind of thing. They're pretty popular. Kind of telling you that kind of stuff. The was it difficult with the artwork? Did you go through kind of several ideas for the artwork? Because the artwork reminds me of, it's very clean. It does remind me of kind of like, I guess, an older style game. I mean, did you have a particular idea in mind when you went for the artwork? Was there different styles that you kind of went through?
Yeah, we kind of knew what we wanted. And actually, so the company that we used to manufacture our prototype is the Game Crafter.
All right, okay.
They have graphic artists that are associated with them, and their portfolios are available to kind of go through and this way, so you can kind of shop around and see what you like. So Bob and I knew exactly like the style that we wanted to go for. Again, like you just said, like that 80s, 90s kind of feel.
Yeah.
So when we saw Alicia's portfolio, we were like, oh my gosh, here it is.
She's the one.
She is the one.
Yeah.
And is she based in the US as well then?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so we just kind of portrayed to her basically the idea for the game and what we wanted to do. And she just started just tossing out ideas, and we just kept tweaking what she had. I mean, her initial concepts were phenomenal. So it wasn't like huge tweaks, but more or less colors or the actual monster himself. Kind of, we wanted to go for more that alligator look instead of just like a monster. So then, we just told her, the whole backstory. The alligator in the lake.
To show the radioactivity. So you're taking a normal alligator and you turn them into a big scary monster. So as soon as she heard that, it was like boom.
Yep.
This monster evolved.
I'm looking at the picture of the monster from the first prototype, and that's not scary.
Nah, it was actually a brontosaurus.
Herbivore isn't very exciting.
Imagine if you had that chasing after you, probably stop the car.
Oh, yeah. Let's feed him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Watch out, he'll eat your trees.
Exactly. Look at his I suppose that would be quite annoying if you're a landscape. If you're into landscaping and that. It's like, I can't believe you brought a brontosaurus home, but look at his face. Yeah. He's so cute.
He's so happy.
It's like, that's fine. No.
Yeah, we caught a lot of flack for that every time we'd play test. We're like, this is what we're running away from? Really? I was like, all the raptors in the bin at AC Moore were taken. I was like, the brontosaurus was the only one that was left.
The last thing you need to grab.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It's just the best.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that as a stretch goal.
To have that brontosaurus
you have
in
to
there?
have. You actually have to have that as a stretch.
We're gonna write that down.
You have to write that down. You're just amazing. You imagine the irony if you actually said to somebody, if you just kept that as the main protagonist, and folk were looking at you going, "It's a brontosaurus." Yeah, it is. It is deadly,
and it doesn't look like the monster on the box at all.
Deadly. I'm just saying that. I'm just letting you know that it's a brontosaurus, but you've got a whole greenhouse of tomato and cucumber plants in your greenhouse, and if that brontosaurus gets there, you're going to lose the whole crop, that kind of thing. But you need to have... He's exceptionally cute. It's kind of like a non-threat level. I guess what you could have a variation of the game where you've kind of like got little kids on bikes, kind of cycling away from the brontosaurus kind of thing. That would be so cool. That would be kind of cool, but you have got this beast of a crocodile kind of like heading towards people instead, which is he looks a bit angry. So yeah, kids on bikes, brontosauruses, stretch goals. Yes. How much is it going to cost if I want to get my foot in the door? How much is a copy of Monster Highway going to set me back?
It's $35 on Kickstarter.
Which is about £29-30 roughly. Probably a little bit less because apparently the pound has been doing quite well of late. And that gets you one copy, and that'll get you all the kind of the various different kind of stretch goals as well.
Correct, yeah.
That's decent. And as you say, you've got ramped up stretch goals. If you want more than one copy, you can double up your pledge and kind of so on and so forth. last couple, I mean, I guess kind of in terms of the kind of the stretch goals themselves, I mean, was it when you make the decision to go to Kickstarter, do you design stretch goals before you're going through the playtesting, or are you essentially kind of thinking, well, because I know, okay, look at it this way, I know there's games out there that are on Kickstarter just now, they have stretch goals for the games, fully within the knowledge that they're going to reach certain stretch goals, and therefore they would be playtesting them and stuff like that. With you guys kind of being first creators, is stretch goals kind of like going to be, well, it's just going to allow us to make a nicer game, it's going to allow us to improve the components and things like that in terms of the stretch goal side of things?
Well, I think with our stretch goals, like when it comes down, I mean, our game isn't like overly complicated. So when we looked at like all the components and what we can actually make stretch goals, we were kind of a little bit more limited. So we definitely had them designed ahead of time. I mean, the very first one that you're going to come up to is the finishes. So more we're like doing like linen finishes or like that matte look, maybe some spot UV coatings like on the box, like more aesthetic type upgrades to the game. Because we were kind of just obviously hoping we could just reach our funding goal just as a start. But that would be our very next thing. We're like, well, we've played games with that, upgraded finish to the cards and whatnot, and that would definitely be something we want to try and obtain right off the bat. Going from there, custom plastic insert as opposed to a paper insert, just for organizing. There are a lot of road tiles that come in the game, so it's like kind of keeping that organized within the packaging would be nice.
Yeah, I guess as well as if this is your first project, you have to be the case of like, we'll get it funded. I think if you go down the line of, well, we're going to introduce all these wonderful mechanics in the stretch goals, then you'll get people accusing you and saying, well, hang on, I've got to, you should have actually had a higher fund goal if you're going to be introducing the kind of the new mechanics.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess the other thing is as well is with you going about and looking at Kickstarters as well in general, as a first-time creator, were you aware of making sure that you had the best campaign you could kind of out there? Is there a lot of pressure, as a first-time creator to make sure you've got the reviews there, you've got the playthrough video, you've got kind of decent graphics for the campaign in order to kind of make that impression on the potential pledge people?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a lot of pressure. We did a ton of research, leading up to it, and we knew this winter, about 2 years in for development, so we feel like we did the time for obviously design and the play testing. We got the product validation, so we just felt like the next natural step was let's launch our Kickstarter campaign. And I feel like we took the proper steps. We have a nice following on social media. The whole year of playtesting, we gathered emails of people that were interested in the game.
Our friends and family have been really supportive and helped spread the word. It's been a long road, but I think we've kind of felt like we put our time in, and I guess this is the ultimate reward to see how good everything's received in the once you release it into the public. It kind of gives you a good gauge.
It's, as I say, it's an attractive game. As I say, that it's difficult, I guess, going on to Kickstarter when you see these behemoths that you're sitting next to, you're like going, oh my goodness. But we must talk about the production video. The kind of the story video that you have at the front, because if you're going to do anything with this campaign, for goodness sake, people go and there'll be a link in the notes that we put out there. For goodness sake, go and look at the story video that these guys have put together, because it's fantastic. As I say, it made me kind of like say, well, when we started the conversation, it was like I have to get these guys on. I have to see kind of they go so far with this type of video. Sure. Kind of, I mean, was that kind of like one of these kind of happy coincidence type things where you're saying, well, how are we gonna help get the name out there, and then like you said, it was like friends kind of got involved, and I mean, it's a cracking looking piece of cinematography. I mean, I've heard Oscar. I'm not saying anything. I've heard Oscar talk.
Wow.
Okay. The buzz is going around.
We didn't know if it was rumors but
there's whispers around the internet. Yeah.
I have I don't know where that came from. It potentially could have just made it up just now, but it's.
We were wondering why that limousine was sitting out front of the house.
Is that what he's doing?
I guess he was here to pick us up.
Oh.
I guess we're supposed to go somewhere.
He's maybe here for the unicorn.
The unicorn.
Yeah. We'll have to give the sad news about the whole diabetes thing with the chocolate and the sugar.
Yeah, you can't say anything about that. Just that would be a bit no. But I mean, you're currently you've got 17 days to go. The total target is $12,000.
Yes,
and you're almost kind of. You're up at the almost $4,500 at the moment. Did you think? I mean, the whole marketing side of things, that's a whole different bag and ball game, kind of altogether. I mean, again, have you guys stepped into this and thought, my goodness, there's a whole set of skills that we have to learn in order to kind of really kind of make this kind of fly?
Yeah. I mean. Like I said, it is difficult. It's hard to judge. You hear all year long, like people very excited about it. But I guess in the masses, it's really hard to get people on board who we actually haven't met face to face. If we feel like when someone sits down and they talk to Bob and I and we show them the game, they play, they're on board.
It's like, I want a copy. Can I buy it? And you're like, we're going to be on Kickstarter, and then. It's like that waiting game.
It's a whole different animal. Trying to meet people who not face to face, just basically selling your product or even just trying to get your product in front of somebody, on their computer or their phones, whatever. Just to show them. So that's a whole different ball game, and that I guess that comes in time. So I feel like there has to be a first. So
yeah, I guess it's like you saying, well, tell you what, we're gonna plant a couple of apple trees just here, and the guys go, that's fantastic. When can you do that? Well, if you can give us about 9 months to a year, because we've got to go and grow the apple trees kind of first of all. It's like people kind of can't have it straight away, so it's building up that anticipation that in about 6 to 8 months time people are actually going to have an apple in their hand, and that's it's a huge set of skills. I think the days of people saying, I've got an idea, let's stick it on Kickstarter and let's look at it fund is kind of gone now. You have to kind of be a man of kind of many, a person of many talents, many different talents to kind of do it. But the game looks fun. It looks it's not overly horrifically complicated, which is always good. Mm-hmm. There's a tendency I've seen a lot of Kickstarters nowadays that seem to have rule books which you kind of need a degree to kind of make sense of. And, and I think Kickstarter is for kind of like all types of, it's definitely for all types of games, and this looks like a lot of fun. If you've put a stretch goal to have like an actual 3D miniature monster, how big is it going to be? Have you decided, is it going to be like just bigger than the cars, or are you saying this thing's going to be like 4 foot high and it's going to need a whole bigger box to kind of put in the back of it?
It's actually a suit. One of the people actually playing have to dress up as the monster and like walk around the room. Yeah.
I think you have to do that. If I think you have to do that when you get funded.
Oh my god, yeah.
Is that you have to do the video. You have to do the video to say that, a big thank you video dressed in some kind of dinosaur costume. Because I've been in this situation before when I asked Richard Keane from who did Dinogenics from Ninth Haven Games, and if he passed one of his big stretch goals, he would do a thank you video in a T-Rex costume. And that video still hasn't happened, Richard. Don't think I haven't forgotten.
Call him out.
Wow. So I'm just it's been 4 months later and it still hurts.
Ooh,
I'm just saying.
We will deliver.
Yeah. Should we put that on the recording?
Yeah, maybe we'll put that on a recording.
That is
it's going to go live. Yeah, we're going to.
Yeah. With explosions and
we'll
stuff.
We'll put our money where our mouth is. Yeah. if you think if you think our intro video is good, wait till you see our thank you.
Watch out
video.
for the thank yous.
No, that'll be amazing.
Oh my god! Yeah.
There has to be a brontosaurus and a unicorn.
Ooh.
And as well, you have to have both.
All right,
well, send us that DHL link, and we'll we'll get on that.
But no, as I say, it's $35 will get you in the door. It's we're 17 days left to go, so you've still got plenty of time to get the kind of the magic number. You seem to be regularly updates are going out to updates are going out to the backers that you have just now.
Correct.
There's lots of decent kind of communication kind of going on as well. If people have listened tonight and they want to find out more about you or keep up to speed with what you're up to, where can we find you on the interweb nets?
On the internets. So our website is onedaywestgames.com. That has a link right to the Kickstarter campaign. Has a link to all our social media pages. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at One Day West Games, and of course on Kickstarter you can search Monster Highway.
I will put a link in the show notes so that we have notes to show. Basically,
That'd be fantastic.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for coming on. I kind of wish you the best of luck with the campaign. I hope it goes really, really well, and I hope you get a slew of backers coming your way. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, then you can find us. We too are on the various social media, so you can find us on Twitter at We're Not Wizards, you can find us on Facebook at We're Not Wizards, you can find us on Instagram at We're Not Wizards. We're on YouTube because our podcast host Podbean automatically put our episodes onto YouTube, so you can find us by going to youtube.com/c/We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher and Acast and Spreaker and potentially Spotify. Fingers crossed. Apparently our account is under review to see if we're going to be on there. They're going to listen, we're not going to get in. I am accepting that, but I'm still quite hopeful. If you like what you've listened to tonight and you would like to help support the show, then please jump onto Apple Podcasts and give us a rating, give us a subscription, give us a review if you want to. If you are giving us a rating or review, remember, don't give us 10 stars because that makes us big-headed. But don't give us 1 because that makes us cry. Give us 5 because it's in the middle. It's kind of average, and we're a little bit average. But the people, for the people who have not been average, it's Bob, it's Ryan. Yes. It's the Craig brothers.
The Craig brothers. Wait.
The Craig brothers. With their rampaging brontosaurus.
with our leaf-eating, tree-destroying.
No vegetable garden is safe.
Watch out for your lettuces and lock your marrows indoors.
Do you love carrots? Do you love lettuce? So does the Brontosaurus. Monster Highway.
That's an expansion for your game. I mean, I'm giving that to you. I'm giving that to you on a slightly
the vegetarian expansion. Nice.
Well, you could even go vegan. Ooh. You could hit the vegan crowd. They'd love you for that. There's only two more things to do. The first one is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. So, are we wizards, gentlemen?
We are not wizards.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. And
we are just mortal humans.
Yeah, but you make people's gardens look fantastic, so that's always a good thing. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Bob, and it's a goodbye from Ryan. So say goodbye, fellas.
Goodbye, Richard.
Goodbye, Richard. We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. We really do appreciate it.
And it's a goodbye from me, remember. Stay safe, roll 6s. remember that objects in the rearview mirror may appear closer than they are, and if you turn round and you see some kind of crocodile-based monster, you better not only just head up the road, you better head up that monster highway. But until the next time, goodbye.